Welcome to the Natasha Andreo Intuitive Podcast. This is my third episode, and I have an amazing first guest, which I have been waiting all week for. We have the beautiful Elise. Now, Elise is a certified life coach, one-on-one love coach, and an international best-selling author. She is also the host of the Love with Elise Peck podcast. She's a wife, a mother, a former lawyer living in Sydney, Australia, with her beautiful little family. Having completed thousands of one-on-one hours with coaching clients from around the world to create incredible results in their lives, Elise is most passionate about supporting you to experience satisfying connection, live a life true to who you really are, and to unleash your true power and potential. Welcome, Elise.
Yay! Thank you so much, Tash, for having me. I'm super excited to be here and to be talking to you.
Of course, this is so cool. Now, today's Sunday, and you celebrated something really, really amazing on Friday night. Uh, Dish.
Yeah, so for anyone that's local to Sydney, Sydney, Australia, we were at the grounds of Alexandria, which is sort of eastern suburbs. It's this really beautiful venue, and we were celebrating a milestone, which is becoming an international best-selling authors.
Woo!
Because it's a collaborative venture. So it's a co-authored book called Elevate Your Energy. I wrote a chapter in it called The Law on Love. It's very exciting. It's got the foreword in it is by Dr. John Demartini, which I know that you're aware of The Secret because Tash came onto my podcast and shared a bit about The Magic, which was written by Rhonda Byrne, which is the same person that created The Secret, I believe. And so Dr. John Demartini is a human behavior specialist and renowned speaker who's in that movie. He wrote the foreword for this book. There's this international best-selling author, number one international best-selling author thing that I can add to my intro, my bio.
Claim it.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah.
So how did that come about?
Yeah, so that came about in May 2020. Well, let me go back to, I can give short stories or long stories. Let me try and make it a middle story. Just the sweet spot. So in 2018, I hit like a really intense rock bottom, and I'd been doing 15 years of self-development and mindset. I'd been doing so much work, and so it did make sense of everything that I'd been learning. Why was I feeling like it was after I'd had babies? It was a postnatal thing, but like, why was my mindset feeling so sort of dodgy? And from that moment, I made a decision to get some support and help. I got a life coach. And he was also a health coach. And that started really moving the needle for me. But I needed a bit more. And I kept searching, then I found some tools to do this inner work. And I always started experiencing this profound up level, this profound shift. It was phenomenal. I could not believe. I really started to, you've read all the books, and they sound so interesting, and you hear all the quotes, and you see all the tweetables, and you see the celebrities like J-Lo and Jennifer Aniston and whatever kind of saying, yeah, when you see it, you believe it, and Oprah, and you're like, yes, 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 and you feel it, and it feels true, and yet the embodiment is just not there. It's like suddenly I was literally embodying what I had read. Those books all make sense now because I'm living it. And that really happened when I started doing inner work and shifting out, like all the accumulated, blocked, trapped stuff from my somatic body. I started really shifting my identity, I guess, from doing this inner work. And I kind of said out to life, oh my gosh, this has been such a profound transformation. I absolutely have to find a way to help other people do this, and to get tools that are similar in effect to what I had found, that I can actually teach and help people to have this this is unreal. It'd be selfish of me to not share this with anyone. So I had that sort of epiphany around the end of 2019, and I was still doing all the self-development stuff, and it's around January 20, or maybe it was February 2020, I was always watching self-development videos, and I watched this video by Ken Honda, have you heard of Ken Honda?
Happy Money.
Yeah, having money, and I was about abundance. I think I just came upon him because I was really into Mind Valley at the time, and a video came up with Vishen speaking to, and I just thought, who is this like sweet guy? Like it's just this beautiful little energy Ken Honda, like yes, just very gentle and lovely, and then like Vishen is giving him this massive kind of welcome and talking about how he's worked with like the Warren Buffett of, he's like, worked with all the billionaires and I was just intrigued. And so I went and followed my curiosity, which is something I'm all about, follow your curiosity. Followed my curiosity and watched a video by Ken Honda. And in that he asked 3 questions. And by the end of answering those questions, I had the absolute epiphany, oh my gosh, I am meant to be a life coach. So I just Googled life coach and I am drawn in the listings to this company called Authentic Education. I liked the word authentic at the time. I liked the number. So I'm clicking, I go on this company, it lands on this page, and this video comes up. It's this guy, Ben, talking about coaching and all these like party to party profiles that some people are one-on-one, some people are this. And I just was like, yeah, I mean, gosh, I resonate with that. Like it just, the video really was speaking a language I hadn't really heard anyone speak yet. And just hearing someone speak that way gave me such a sense of belonging. I was like, what is this world? So I went along to the How to Be a Highly Successful Coach, became a coach. And then so I kind of had forgotten that I'd even had the epiphany also at the end of 2019. Basically, that moment when I said, oh, I really want to help people. I also at the time was doing the 6-phase meditation frequently by Vishen Lakhiani. And during that, you get prompted to imagine your future. And during that, I had seen author. And I got this like, oh, I want to be an author. So it was kind of during this guided 6-phase meditation that you can just check out on YouTube that I got this epiphany, I want to be an author. And I actually drew up a vision board at the time. So I did a vision board and I had on there certified this and certified that. I was becoming a health coach at the time. I'm also a certified integrative health practitioner. So I had this vision board of all the stuff that I wanted. And an author had come up then, but I sort of let it go as I became the health coach and then got the epiphany to become a life coach, went to Authentic Education. And as about 9 months into the journey with Authentic Education, I was at one of their events, so I kind of bought all their programs.
As you do.
Well, they were like, I think when you work with someone and you get, and like if you buy one thing from them and it gives you an amazing result, you're like, okay. Like,
What else did they have?
Yeah. And so the first thing I got into was their coaching certification. And here is the craziest part. When I went along to the How to Be a Highly Successful Coach Day, it was the guy Ben was running it, and he demonstrated this tool, and it was literally like a refined, better version of exactly the tool that a year ago or 6 months earlier I'd said, I just need something like this so I can that I'm allowed to teach. Like I'd found a tool, but it wasn't mine. Someone else had created it, and I was like, I need some version of this. It's like this ask and it is given. I literally thought, oh my God, I need this so I can take it to people, so I can help them have the transformation that I've had, so they don't waste another 15, 20 years reading all the self-development books like I did and not getting the real transformation. Like this is the real stuff. You got to go into the body. Like this is so important. And I got there and I'm there that day. So I'd watched his video and been like, wow, like speaking my language. And then I went to the How to Be a Highly Successful Coach Day and he demonstrated this tool. And I'm like, that is exactly the tool that I want. And I won on that day. I was on the lucky seat, and under my seat, I won the coaching certification. But I was like, hey, I already actually bought it. I felt such a resonance from your video. I already bought it. But that meant I got that credit to another program. So I bought all their programs eventually because I got it always just felt very like synchronous and whatever. And then their coaching tools were so amazing that they kind of made the point, hey, you can't just become a coach. You've got to also have a coaching business. So I was like, all right, yeah, makes sense. I hadn't thought that through. I wanted to help people. I wanted to use this tool. I hadn't thought about how I actually kind of let people know I'm in business, right? So I was doing their business programs, and one day I came online and he just offered up, by the way, I haven't done this for years, but from time to time, every now and then, we put together a collaboration with Elevate Books. And and then you basically applied for the opportunity to be in this in this book. So I was 9 months in at the time, so they were familiar with me and that I'd been coaching nonstop and this sort of stuff. So some of the people from that community that were kind of established coaches and already making a difference in the world and that sort of stuff got together and were able to be in this book, Elevate Your Energy. Yeah, and Ben from Authentic Education was in that book too. And I was like, from everything I've seen, like this company, I was getting such great results. I'm like, oh, it's kind of like I got the feeling at the time that I feel like it'd be like Tony Robbins at the start of his journey, being told you want to collaborate with him, and then it's like, yeah, it just the idea of having the collaboration with that company, with having Dr. John DeMartini as the forward, I was like, well, yes. So it felt way too early. I was 9 months in to being a coach. I had just been on a deep healing journey for 2 years, like from 2018 to 2020, and I'd got to the point where I had got really down that I'd cut off almost everyone in my life, and I was just popping my head back out and coming back into life. And I was about 9 months into doing that, getting people amazing transformations, like mind-blowing. But also it felt a little bit shaky to kind of then, after just launching a business, then become an author. But there was kind of all these, like, I don't know, too many signs, I guess, like too many.
I just love that.
Yeah, it just felt like life was saying, hey, this way. So I just did it. Yeah.
There's so many things that you said I want to point out. The first thing that comes to mind is you mentioned when you Googled life coach, like I'm sure there would have been thousands of search results that turned up. The big thing that I'm all about is intuition. So when you follow that sixth sense, it's when magic really literally unfolds for you.
Yeah.
So I just think it's amazing that you were drawn to, was it Ignite?
Authentic education.
Authentic education, yeah. Just the authenticity, reflecting who you are.
Well, also at the time, it's kind of shifted now, but at the time, my favorite number was 87. And I went into the number 7 as well. And what grabbed my attention, to be honest, was not just the words authentic, but then their number was, it was something like 1-300-877-877. And seeing the 877-877, I was like, I'm in.
Wow.
So it was really the phone number. Like the weirdest thing, it was the phone number, and then I clicked. But the video that came up, I had a real moment. It's gonna sound, I cried after watching that video.
Aww.
I felt such a resonance that and it was not a moving video. It was a very light, hey, what's your party? There was like a really kind of it felt like something big was about to happen.
Yeah.
And so I sat down. It'd be so funny if Authentic Education ever heard this. I reckon they would change their prices if they heard this conversation. I sat down with my husband and I was like, look, I watched this Ken Honda thing, and then I watched this video. And from the Ken Honda questions were essentially, what is everyone always telling you that you ought to do? Like, what is the thing that comes naturally to you? And I had done network marketing a few years prior, from basically I think 2015, the end of that, to 2017. I'd done doTERRA essential oils.
Same.
Did you?
Yeah. I quit last year.
It surprised me. I got the similar. There's a way, like doTERRA, it attracts a certain vibe. It's a very different vibe to like an Isogenics or a Juice Plus. Like doTERRA, like the people they have an act that there's a vibe. So that doesn't surprise me. You are very much the vibe of someone I expected. So yeah, it's like all very natural, holistic, and energy and this and that. So I was doing doTERRA, and through that, I built, like, through the people that I knew and then their networks, and essentially I had about 500 people under my tree, probably about maybe only 30 were in direct contact with me. But through that I had helped ignite other leaders. So I had trained people to do their classes and trained people. So I'd gone and run their classes for them, or just got them to, I was inspiring people to take action, and I let people, anyone that was on my team and anyone that became their leaders, have unlimited access to me through Voxer. And people would Voxer voice memo me constantly, and my whole life was pretty much, I was parenting and then I was voxering, and I was just talking,
Oh,
and I was just coaching people, and people were supposed to be coaching coming to the oils, and they just started bringing me their whole life and marriage and my this, and I still remember it. I was in Vaucluse, I lived in Vaucluse in Sydney at the time, in the eastern suburbs. I remember I would walk along this, like, I think it was Old South Head Road down to my daughter's swimming lessons for an hour and a half. I'd be listening to Voxers, I'd be responding to Voxers. And so I was doing all this accidental coaching, and people were saying to me, "Whoa, I came for the oils, Elise, but this is unreal. You should do this for a living." So that was kind of the question. So I kind of basically explained that to my husband, like, this is my calling. And then I told him that I'd found this company, but there were no prices on the website. And so I sat down, I had a conversation. Look, they want me to get on a discovery call. I don't know what's going to happen, but I really want this. So tell me, what is like the maximum budget? Like, what is the number that if they don't go above that number, I can say yes on the phone call? So I was like all in, and he gave me like a really huge number. He was like, if this is your thing.
oh,
And it ended up being probably 10% of that number, uh, which was still quite an investment. But yeah, it was just a hell yes moment. So it was getting aligned with that company. It was following my intuition. The whole experience, the whole time, felt very much in alignment. It felt like I was absolutely having an experience I was meant to be having. And like the whole thing felt very, very much my path. And so when you're feeling that, and the courses they're doing are landing, and then like I did their coaching course, and the next week I did the course that I credited my free. I won the course too. The Difference Maker Accelerator. During that week, we did an exercise, and from that exercise, I got my first 7 clients, and that was the start. So week 2, I started coaching, and there's not been a week since that week in May 2020 when I have not been coaching people. So it's just like the wind was behind it. So yeah, that's how the best-selling book came about. Was I had this intuitive following my curiosity. I call it following my curiosity, because I believe that your intuition feels like curiosity.
yes.
Like, I think sometimes people think it's your gut feeling. That's often fear and anxiety. Your curiosity won't feel like panicked. It'll feel like a calm, quiet knowing that almost you on some level want to resist. Like, no, don't say that. No, that's inconvenient and scary. But your curiosity is kind of going over here. And so yeah, I followed my curiosity, did the coaching, did the courses. So when they came up with another opportunity to collaborate with them on the book, it was a hell yes moment. And yeah, then we celebrated last Friday, which it's now October 2022, that it's a #1 international bestseller.
Amazing. You mentioned like you felt when you got asked, or when you put in your application or submitted to be a collaborator, that you felt like I was a bit too premature. You were only a coach for 9 months. I really feel like the symbolism of 9 months and a baby, like this is your baby.
Yeah.
And this now in its infancy is going to take you places that you could only dream of.
Yeah, it felt like that. It felt a little bit like I had to check in with myself. I'm very much, may your decisions reflect your hopes, not your fears, and make sure you're always moving from abundance, not scarcity. So I had to really check in. This was not usually. I can be the kind of person that I decide fast, and then I just make that decision the right decision. I'll just decide, and then it doesn't matter if it's going to be a right or wrong. I've got me, and I'll make it right, the right decision. So I'm usually a really fast action taker. I will say this decision took a little bit of. It was not. There was a hesitation there, and I had to stop and check in. Is it the scarcity of I don't want to miss out on the opportunity? Like, it's a balance of strike while the iron is hot. versus, there's more where that came from. Abundance mindset, you can't miss what's for you. If I'm meant to be a best-selling author, it doesn't have to be now. It will happen. If this is my path, I don't need to be scarce and grab onto it. And then there was also, but this does feel aligned. It just felt too soon. Yeah, but I felt like, no, I'm very aligned with the work of Dr. John Demartini. I'm very aligned with Ben's work. Like his coaching tools have transformed my life. They're what I turn to for any of my problems. And I've tried everything, you know what I mean? I've been to psychologists, I've done. And yeah, the thing that really works for me is the coaching tools that I got there. So I knew it was very aligned. And then, yeah, I just had to really do some coaching on myself. Was I saying yes or no from fear? Or yeah, and in the end, I would just say it was an abundance block of worrying about extending myself too far instead of just focusing on my coaching. And I was a little bit, but anyway, I just said yes, and I'm so glad I did, because the chapter like flew out of me. It was like if it was a birth, it was a very swift birth. It was like it just wanted it felt like I had been, yes, exactly as you said, I'd been growing a baby for 9 months. That's exactly what it felt like. And it felt like it needed to be birthed and put in a time capsule and captured somewhere, because I had learned so much because I'd also been coaching nonstop for 9 months. Whoa, you learn a lot. And I'd been out there in the marketplace marketing myself. Wow, you learn a lot. It was it was a trial by fire type 9 months of just rapid I sprinted at this business, and it kind of sprinted at me too. So the clients were there. It was rapid fire. So I was learning so much in a short amount of time. It almost is like it was all marinating, and I had to burst out and be captured somewhere. And I'm so glad, because I do tend to, I like to move like water, and I do tend to flow, and something could be amazing, and my curiosity will pull me to something else, and I'll leave that thing behind type. So I'm glad that wisdom is there, and I won't forget about it as I get excited by the next thing that pulls my curiosity. That is timeless wisdom. And for anyone that is in the stage of really, really, really wanting more love in their life, and really wanting to know how they can create that from within, how they can ignite their attractive energy, then like that's there. And I don't know if I'll always be speaking about that, but I know that what I shared is absolutely crucial if that's the result you're wanting, and it's there. So I'm glad that it got captured. Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed to me like you were making the decision from not where you were at in life. It was your higher self pulling you.
Yeah. Oh, so well said.
Out of your comfort zone.
It was. Absolutely. Yeah, it was like, I think I have never done human design, but I get the feeling I'm a manifester. My manifestations happen. For me, it's a case of careful what you wish for. I have to be very careful what I accidentally manifest. So if something pulls me into the contrast, and I have a desperate thought in that moment of, I just want blah, I'm like, that thing is going to happen now. Like, I've got to be really careful what I wish for. And it felt like I manifested. I asked for this, and here it was, but I'd forgotten. I was true manifestation. I declared it, I'll be an author. I'd visualized it, and then I let it go. And then very often this so happens. I wake up one day and I look around, I'm like, whoa, I wasn't even trying, but I'm accidentally sitting in that manifestation. It happens to me very frequently. That's what it felt like. It felt like I had accidentally.
Never looked up your human design chart.
No, never.
I have a feeling you're a manifestor generator.
Yes, that's the other word that pulls me. Yeah. I don't want you, because here's my resistance to human design. I worry it's a framework that will distract me from just tapping into my truth.
Yeah.
I decide from an outside framework, whereas really, do I need to know what I am, or do I just moment to moment be checking in with my truth and moving from that?
If
I've got the tools that are always driving me inwards and looking for my answers from within, I can become my own. I can give it its own label, Elise. I'm Elise. So I kind of don't. There comes a point, and maybe you felt this, where it's just like the next tool, then the next tool, then the next tool, and then you get very overwhelmed. And I think sometimes it's it's nice to just say, like, I've got, once I know what works, I stick with it. So with my health, I was obsessed with health. And then my health was really terrible, even though I was eating all this organic. And so I went on this journey. I got that coach that I mentioned. And I really learned how to dial in my health, and I got a routine, and now I've got just a system that works. So I flex out of it all the time. I had like a whole pizza last night. I constantly am flexing outside of the thing because I know what works now, so I know I can return to it. And I think I feel a bit that way with mindset. I've got my coaching tools now, and I know what works. So sometimes you can get a bit distracted trying to try too many things out if you've already found the thing that's getting you the results you want. Yeah, so I think that's it. I feel kind of settled with
Yeah.
my coaching tools and with my health routine, and yeah, yeah,
What I'm really inspired by is you're really emanating this energy of I'm not going to outsource my power and put a label on something, because that really boxes people in.
yeah,
Like certain archetypes out there, like even within astrology, like, oh, you're a Virgo, you must be XYZ.
yeah.
It's like that's really limiting.
It's
So what,
interesting you say that because I know that you like all that sort of stuff. So it's fascinating that there must be a lot of depth to what you do, that you're actually passing that comment on, that not all Virgos are going to be the same, that there is a bio-individual element to it.
yeah, there is. And there's like layers. Life is full of layers.
Yeah.
And we should never really I'm at this point in my life now where I'm at the very start, but I'm learning not to give my power away
Mm,
to certain things. Like
mm,
I've been obsessed with the moon, but now I'm like, why do I have to wait for the moon to do certain things?
yeah.
That's been a really big thing for me, and it's hard. I'm hopscotching back and forth.
Yes. Yeah. That's an interesting one, actually. One of the things I did for my rock bottom was I went on this like journey of like sexual empowerment, right? And I learned all about using sexual energy and all that sort of stuff. And for a while there, I got really into Kim Anami's content. And something she said on one of her podcasts really resonated, which was she was deciding to play with cause and effect, and she was trying to play with being the cause, not the effect. And that was something that she's really into energy. And she's like, I think it's ridiculous that we want to sync up our periods to the moon. She's like, why don't you sync up your periods to whatever is convenient for you? She believes in full conscious control, that you can tell your body to ovulate or not ovulate, that you can tell your body, I would like a 63-day cycle now because I don't want to bleed so often. Like she really, and she does all this, she believes in tapping into the power of your ovaries and using your ovary energy. And so she's really like, I don't want to just be the effect. I want to consciously create. I'm going to tell. So she will do exercises where she tells her body exactly when to have a period, not have a period. She decided to reach menopause apparently when she wanted to, and it was just a blissful, just an end to her period when she felt like it, because she didn't want to leak her energy. She wanted to use her energy and harvest it. So it's an interesting concept of do we want to be the effect or do we want to be the cause? And I don't know. There's fun in both, isn't there? I think it's whatever your curiosity is pulling you to. Sometimes I really love the feeling of feminine energy. Sometimes I don't want to have to bother being in the course. I want to receive and surrender. So it's it's fun to play with this stuff and to know your power and to experiment with
Yeah.
abilities.
There's
Yeah.
a beautiful balance. I think when things are in balance, it shows up in your life in beautiful, magnificent ways.
Mm.
Before we got married earlier this year, and my cycle is synced with the moon, so we had chose a new moon for our wedding day, and I knew my period was going to come, and I told my body, you are arriving 1 week early, and sure enough it did.
Ah,
And it really empowered me because I'm like, I don't have to wait for the moon. I can tell my period to come when it's convenient for me, and my
wow.
wedding day is not going to be inconvenienced by this. And that was, yeah, really special.
Wow. Okay.
Does
Amazing.
work. I can attest to that.
That's yeah, and how empowering to feel that, I guess, in control, for want of a better word, of your own body, of your own
Yeah.
processes.
And this is the sort of thing, like me being a high school teacher, there are so many gaps in the curriculum. Like it
Mm,
turned me off from teaching full time
Mm.
because I can't sit in a constrained curriculum anymore. And like if the Department of Education were to hire someone like you and
Mm.
go, okay, this is our PDHPE curriculum, what needs to go, what needs to stay,
Mm.
it would change the lives of not just young girls, young teenagers, but young males as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be, it's going to happen because like life is evolving so fast lately. If people want things to happen, they've got platforms now, they've got social media. Uh, if there's enough people with a voice, like it's the change is happening. So I feel that we're going to see so much disruption in the education space, so much. Um, yeah, and I feel already, we briefly sent, well, briefly, for 3.5 years, we sent our eldest child to like a very play-based school, like a bush school that was away from the standard curriculum and all this sort of stuff. And then we eventually transitioned her to a mainstream school. And honestly, like actually not that different. Like yes, different, but they've got mindfulness, they've got like all that stuff, the play based. It's coming in, and yes, there'll be some very old school teachers that will probably still try to hold on to the old paradigm, but young, fresh ones are coming in, and they are aware of psychology, they are aware of emotional needs, and they are aware of and I saw this thing that Richard Branson is doing. He's got a real movement to bring awareness to dyslexic thinking and dyslexic
Mhm.
kids and to help. He's got a real campaign to help schools identify that. Um, and so you've got these people with power and influence that want purpose, that want self actualization, that are starting to really create this progression. So I feel, and we've also got so many people that are choosing to homeschool now, that because that is such an option, and I think the pandemic really accelerated that, like the lockdown, the isolation, really accelerated people turning to homeschooling or unschooling and living off grid. And I think it's almost like, well, schools are going to have to compete with that. So they're going to have to lift their game because there's more options now, like supply and demand. Um, yeah, so I think it's going to be exciting to watch that space, but also nothing can be the source of everything, right? So if your kids aren't getting what they need at school, I guess bringing awareness to that and
Mm,
checking in with them at home and seeing what needs to be done at home and trusting your intuition on that as well. Hey, like,
yeah,
is this feeling right for this kid? Are they going to thrive here? And then, like, we took the leap and moved schools when it was feeling like something else was a better match for this particular time in her life. So I think if a parent is tapped into their intuition, they are tapped into their child. I think that's probably the most powerful impact that they can have.
I love, love, love. Yeah,
Yeah.
so powerful. One thing you mentioned at the start was you had done all the things. So spent 15 years with personal development, watching every Mind Valley video that comes out, doing all the master classes, podcasts, all the things. And I think a lot of people can relate to that because it's like it becomes trendy. Okay, let's do some breath work because some influencer did her breath work, and let's drink cacao, and let's do tarot, and let's da 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 da. But you mentioned something that I really want to unpack here was the somatic embodiment.
Mm,
So what does that look like for you?
mm. I think this is so important because, like, all you can do is plant a seed. But I think people really need the seed planted that it can actually be a real source of pain if you do consume too much and you never actually get the results. It's like now you're reading all these people that have the results. You know what's possible, you know magic is available. And yet you're sitting here and your life has not actually changed, even though you have the wisdom in your head. And I think that is the power of actually working with coaches or healers or people that know how to actually do some internal shifts with you and for you. And I think the power of doing that with another human is that there's an energetic transference, I believe, that happens when someone is holding a space for you and holding a container and holding a frame, maybe living in an end or an energetic resonance that you're trying to get to. So that's part of it. I really believe I provide a psychologically safe space for my clients. And just being in the energy of that allows their body to relax, and then we can access more inner wisdom, and because it's coming from within, it helps release stuff. But to actually not distract myself, but to get to the root of your question, what that looks like is that over life, things happen, And sometimes we don't know how to process it or how to be with it. We don't know how to integrate that experience. And even a lot of stuff happens before, our actual ability to capture memory comes online, but it is stored. It is stored, I believe it's in the lower part of the, like, I know it's the back of this one, speaking about it to a friend of mine who's a psychologist, and like, it's all, everyone's on the same page. It's not just the energetic people, psychology, I know some people do want to pick apart the work of Carl Jung in the psychology field, and there is some, is there actually an unconscious mind? Do we have evidence? I know that it's not fully conclusive. My belief and my experience is that we capture what goes on around us, and it informs who we are. And so it's like that thing, if someone came up and hit you and they were wearing a black hat, your body will store everyone with black hats is a potential threat. You'll probably have a fight or flight, a somatic body response. And that can serve us when we're kids. That can serve us because maybe the environment we were in required us to be hypervigilant, and maybe that legitimately kept us safe. But as an adult, when you are no longer a helpless kid and you actually have the power to just walk out a front door, or to go get a job and empower yourself, or to go get support down the road, or you don't need to be in fight or flight all the time. And how you are wired, those experiences in your body, while amazingly intelligent and incredible at keeping you safe when you're little, can right system, wrong time, can really, like, right time for the childhood, wrong time in adulthood. It'll have you perceiving way too many threats, and eventually, like me, you find out that your body is just constantly being flooded with cortisol, and therefore I was becoming pre-diabetic. I was pre-diabetic. I was eating all organic and all that sort of stuff, but I had so much stress because my own mind was traumatizing me over and over and over, because I was constantly in fight or flight. Things were freaking me out. Just getting a message in the end was freaking me out. So it's like, well, you can't think your way out of that, because often that stuff is stored in our body. That experience, it needs the psychological safety that it never had. It needs its moment. It needs your inner child needs its moment that it didn't get. So if something scared it, it needed someone to, there's that guy, what's his name? Garber Mate or whatever. He's come out. It was the wisdom of trauma. And what was he saying? I can't remember why I was going to bring that up. But it's essentially, I know what he said. He's like, children can endure so much, and the difference between it becoming a trauma and not becoming a trauma is, did they have a secure base to process it with? Mm-hmm. Did they have someone that they could go to, so that's why, like, two people can have the same experience, and for one it's a lifelong stressful thing, and the other one moves through it and appears resilient or anti-fragile. And the difference, he said in his work, and he's an expert on trauma and healing, is, well, did they have someone to go to? Did someone care? Was there someone? And I think those parts of us that we've held on to, that were never held space for, they now need to be held space for. They need to have their moment of being seen, heard, and understood. And when you do that spontaneously, you will discover that there is actually some wisdom for you. That the reason that happened and your mind captured it and stored it was because there was something not yet understood about that. There was something undiscovered. And if you actually go in and you give that part of you permission to have its moment, and then you get curious after it's had its moment and you ask it, hey, what can I learn about this? What is the wisdom that it will take for me to be able to actually let this go and trust that actually everything was working out for me, that there was a gift in this experience, that life was trying to help me with this experience, and it just couldn't help me because I didn't have the ability to process it or someone to process it with to get to the learning. But now it is time to transform everything that has happened to me into the learning that probably would have happened had I had psychological safety. And now I'm going to become my best inner parent, and I'm going to provide that for myself. And so these processes, if they're in the space with a safe person and they have the tools that help you bypass your conscious mind and relax enough to go in and to be brave enough to sit with that feeling and to not have to relive the trauma, but to just go into the sensation and uncover what was the learning that will alchemize this trauma into appreciation, that will reveal the gift And once you do enough of that and you start realizing, whoa, there was a divine order. Everything was working out for me. That actually was on the way to what I wanted. That somehow was in my best interest. That will actually start making you feel like you can trust your experience, you can trust life. It'll start building a trust with yourself. I know I'll hold space for myself. I know I'll get myself through the traumas. And also it'll help you start trusting life. Life did have my back. It did. And I just couldn't see it because I didn't have the co-regulation to be able to process and extract the gold at the time. So yeah, that's really my understanding and my version of getting into the cracks. It's like kintsugi, that Japanese, the concept of when the plate breaks, we line it with gold, and now it's a far more valuable piece. It's more expensive to buy that plate now after it's been broken than beforehand. It's about that. It's about life has cracked you in some places, and the way you're going to line it with gold and become way more valuable is to go to the cracks. The crack is where the light gets in, right? Is to go to the cracks and to get curious and to be with them and to give them love. And that love and that holding space will alchemize it into wisdom, which will be the gold, and you'll become this more valuable, beautiful thing. Yeah.
Incredible. I'm like hooked. I feel like I'm at a seminar here. I'm like, I should be taking down notes.
Oh yay, I'm glad it's
So
landing.
much wisdom. There's so many things like to break down from that. I don't think we'll have enough time in this session, but it just seems like our nervous system is dysregulated,
Yeah.
and that's a common theme in society. I mean, we're triggered by little things before even the big things have a chance to pop up in our life. And I feel like what you said about, you didn't mention the word beliefs, but a lot of this is in reference to certain beliefs that served us at one point in time. And this also goes back to our prefrontal cortex, caveman days. We had a need to be scared of, for our nervous system to not dysregulate, but to show up signs of, what's the word? Like we needed our heart to race or our palms to sweat and our bowels to open up, when we were in a space of threat, if there was a tiger in front of us. But now we're doing that when we're sitting in traffic, or when we get a phone call from a family member, or your boss asks you to come into his office, sort of thing. So
Yeah. It's too much, and it spikes up cortisol and our insulin, and there's this like so many people are getting diabetic without eating all the wrong things, and otherwise they're eating while exercising, but it's the influx of cortisol of being in fight or flight way too much. And it didn't matter what I did or how beautiful I tried to create my life. I was kind of like in a hell I couldn't escape. I could go to the beach, I could go on holidays, I could drive around the most beautiful suburb, and my mind would be terrorizing me. I would be thinking about every conversation. She said that, and who said that, and how am I going to heal? And I'm scared to be in a room with that person again. And I would just be ruminating and ruminating and ruminating. And so my mind had become like this terrifying thing that was freaking me out all the time. And there's this book by Dr. Caroline Leaf where she talks about cleaning up your mental mess. And she has like a little sweet little neat process in there. But she actually does like brains. She shows photos of people kind of like, I guess, complex PTSD or PTSD, or that they have this brain that is just freaking them out. And then she shows after you do the work, it's calm. And wow, can I tell you, like my brain's such a nice place to exist now. Like it's, I can sit in a beanbag and I can stare at the ocean, and like creativity and beautiful ideas just come flooding through. I have an endless tap of someone messaged me the other day, hey, do you have a VA? Do you have a scheduler? What's going on with your social media? How are you so like, and I'm like, no, that's all me. That is, I get an idea from like 10 minutes later, it's not hard work. It's just flowing out of me. Like the tap of creativity has been turned on. Growing up, I was told I was not a creative kid. Oh, Elise, she's not creative. She's not. I'm over here now, best-selling book. I'm writing blogs. I'm constantly creating. I'm creating with words. Sure, not a paintbrush. Some people think that creativity is art. It is just a paintbrush. But my version of creativity is with words and thoughts and frameworks and mental models. And my brain is just always, it's got the space. I did not know this version of myself existed, because my brain was so noisy with drama. And my only escape, honestly, was to study. So I would study, and that would quieten my mind because finally I had something else to focus on outside of the rumination. But now I can drive around, my mind can just be quiet, and like lovely thoughts come in and a new inspiration comes in, and I can hear it in a, yeah, I can let go. So that's partly key to being in your feminine energy as well, is
Mm.
if you've got too much stored inside that's keeping your mind busy, you're going to be stuck up in your head.
Mm.
And feminine energy really has a lot to do with being able to just let go and be in your body and letting your mind go quiet.
Mm.
Moving from that place, the place of voluntary choice of the prefrontal cortex. You can't create anything new if you're always reacting from a historical version of you. And when you're in fight or flight, you've only got access to the lower parts of your brain, the involuntary that is historical. It's your old programs that have created your current results. And if you want new results, you've got to find a way to quieten the noise so that you can start making new choices, because you've got access to the higher parts of your brain that only comes from like taking away all the stuff that's traumatizing you. So that's often when people come to me as coaching clients. I mean, I assess, you can always tell if someone's got too much noise online. They don't really know what they want. They don't know what their values are. They don't have a vision. And they're very, 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 very logical and analytical and very stressed, and like they're stuck in their brain. So if someone comes to me at that point, I know, the first at least 4 sessions, we're getting into that body. We're just going to be alchemizing and alchemizing and alchemizing. We're just going to be pulling stuff out, because I can't even access who you really are until your mind lets you get out of fight or flight more of the time. I'm not going to be able to get your wisdom until we've calmed you down. And so, but other people come to me and they've done a lot of work and they are very calm, and it's a different process. We can go straight into what do you want and visualization. But yeah, this piece was the missing piece for me. It didn't matter what I was going to read in a book. It didn't matter what I put in a vision board. If I'm in fight or flight, I'm only creating from the historical version of me, which, was laid down in childhood, and just going to keep creating more of what I don't want.
Mm. That's really higher thinking. Because not, like if you went to see like a therapist or go to a friend or mentor, they're not going to tell you these things.
Yeah, I think the embodied, you have to have kind of walked the path almost yourself to.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to read theory, it's another to actually experience what really worked for
Yeah,
you, and then what really works for other people.
sure.
Same with love. Like that's why you've been on my podcast. Um, I pretty much, to get on the podcast, you have to say that you've got a lot of love in your life, because I really think the embodied knowledge, having not had the result and now having the result, like that's the wisdom. Tell us about that. That transformation of not having something and having it. I think the embodied knowledge is a bit of a missing piece but I
Mm.
think psychotherapists, from what I understand, might just be in America. I think some of them, it's a requirement that they go through a lot of therapy themselves and have their own journey before they're allowed to do therapy. There might be American psychotherapists, but I know there are some modalities where you literally aren't to work with clients until until you've been on the journey yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's integrity, like if I'm helping someone with their health, it's because I have walked the path. Like I try not to get people to do stuff that I haven't actually tested with
Yeah.
myself and with my clients. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nothing like experience.
Like, yeah, in like a few memes go around like about PE teachers and things like that, like stereotypes about their body weight and how they look.
Yeah.
And students, like young people in particular, they do question, well, how can you be my PE teacher? Why should I trust
Mm,
anything you have to say? Because you clearly don't have that look.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because so much goes into. Yeah, but clearly they haven't solved something, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, they might be eating healthy and they might be like, well, I'm a healthy BMI, I'm this and that. But I've got to say, having worked with my health coach and everything that I learned, some people, they stop too soon and they say, I'm going to embrace and I'm going to be body positive and I'm going to say, this is what healthy looks like for me. And I think they quit too soon. I'm just going to say it, it's pretty bold and a bit risky to be cancelled, to get cancelled these days for not just being super agreeable. But I'm just going to say that I think they stopped too soon, because I think clearly if there is some inflammation, and yes, there are different body types, kapha, vata, pitta, and yes, some accumulate more, but there are baseline pointers of health, like the hip to waist to hip ratio, which is it's a universal scientific measure of health. And if you are storing a lot of your body weight on your stomach, that is a sign of high cortisol. Have you really worked with a functional medicine person to balance your hormones, test everything? Have you really given your body all the nutrients it needs to be detoxing your liver and giving it? Have you really exhausted all the options to really check if this is actually what health looks like for you? Or have you stopped a bit short? And it's got too hard, and so the easiest route has been, well, I'll just say that yes, you want to love and accept where you are right now and love and accept your body. It's always fighting for you. It's always trying to get you to equilibrium. It literally is doing the best job. But have you really found all the answers? Is it worth saying, I love my body as it is right now, and I'm actually willing to explore if there is more for me to, if I am actually inflamed, and do some tests. And it's a tricky one. Absolutely. I got to be honest, looked at my health coach and thought, how healthy does he look? And I heard his journey, and part of why I wanted to work with him was, it wasn't about how healthy he looked right now. It was about knowing how unhealthy he had been, and what his B looked like compared to his A, right? So has there been has he got a system that actually progressed him? And he was given lifelong illnesses and diagnoses, and he was told that he would never have energy. He had every diagnosis under the sun, and now he's prolific. He does a podcast a day. He's obviously got endless energy. So I'm like, all right, well, to be told that and to get to there, something. But then I also look at his clients' results too. I looked at, I think at the time, influencers and whatever were using it, and they were having radical transformation. So I think, I think we can pretend that we're not, but I think everyone is sussing out, do you have a result?
Yeah. I think we're living in a world now of, if it's not instant gratification, then I don't want it.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I see it. Oh my gosh. You've just spoken my love language. You've just spoken straight to my soul. This is a big this is a big topic for me. I am all about the long game. And I saw it when I was studying at school and everyone was partying. And I even see it now in business with people that tell you should do a cash grab too soon. Get a niche, get a system, get certainty, get cash. And I'm like, if that's what I wanted, I would still be a lawyer. I'm here to self-actualize, and that will take some time. And usually it's a good 2 to 3 years to really even establish what on earth you're actually offering the marketplace and what your truth is. And then you got to get to the 7-year mark to kind of have got any level of depth for it to start to be a legacy. You probably learned all this through network marketing. Network marketing teaches about the long game. Did they say this, that, hey, don't start this unless you're willing to give it a good 2-3 years? And Marie Forleo, B School, says this too. Don't start a business if you're not willing, ride or die, to keep nudging it. And even if nothing has happened, no movement, keep testing, keep trying for at least 3 years. She's like, and then after 2 to 3 years, you should have enough information to go deep on something and take it to the 7-year mark. And then at the 7-year mark, you'll have something that's kind of hard to destroy. It'll be so, solid at that point. And I think that's the reality. No one wants to hear that. They want to hear they can come out, become a coach, make $100,000 in 6 months. And I think, but are you going to sell out on your truth because you didn't take the time to let yourself grow roots and to know thyself and to understand who you really are as a coach before you went deep? Did you cut yourself short? Did you say no to millions of dollars 10 years from now because you wanted to say yes to 100,000 right now? If you look at the amazing people out there, if you look at the Mel Robbins, Jordan Peterson, Esther Perel, Louise Hay, even Dee Martini, his journey, he started giving talks for free. My health coach, Dr. Stephen Cabral, he's whoa, taking off like a rocket. But at the start, he was just in gyms as a nutritionist, very trying to price out other people. If you look at people that really took off, Gary Vee says for 4 years he was on Twitter talking into thin air, no one cared. And Dr. Shafali, who does conscious parenting, she talks about how everyone hated her message. She came up with her message. She was already a clinical psychologist at the time. No one wanted her message. She didn't care. Her message needed to be heard, even if no one wanted to hear it. She was way more committed to the process and to, oh gosh, I saw this quote. Who said it? Susan. She's a famous psychologist on a TED Talk, Dr. Susan someone. She said, focus more on making music than the applause. And I think you've got to focus on creating for the joy of what you're creating than for the output. And I think if you tap into that, you will keep going. Why would you not keep going when it's something you enjoy? You would just keep going. Like, I love talking about this. Why would I stop? But if I had 6 weeks in, whatever, my initial idea was Glow Flow, and it was an online program. And if I was forcing myself to still just sell that program for the next 3 years because it was guaranteed income, I would never have found the depth and my voice and continue to learn and grow. And I would not have all this endless energy and this love for what I'm doing, which was the whole point. So yeah, I agree. Like, know why you started. Keep returning to why you started, and make sure that if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, have you just created another day job for yourself? Have you just become like your own worst boss? That just like is all about KPIs and performance, and who cares if you're having a good time? Or are you really actually invested in yourself and loving the process? So yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I love that. The
Yeah.
long game. And
Yeah.
I think you know what the problem is, there's so much marketing now promising people the world so soon. So you've got that generation coming up believing that they can be the next Justin Bieber. They just got to make a few video clips on YouTube, someone will discover them, bam, billionaire. That's the expectation. They don't, and someone needs to say, hey, just like everyone else, prepare for it to be a good 2 to 3 years of no one caring, no one cheering for you while you are working and sprinting for the love of what you're creating. And then keep going for another 7 years, and don't quit until you've at least given it a good 7-year nudge. I mean, obviously, if you're pushing an idea and literally no one's buying in the first 2 to 3 years, I hope you're taking the feedback and adapting and editing and being agile and flowing like water. Like, don't keep nudging, like smashing a brick wall. But be willing to at least keep moving and being agile and dedicated to something. I think people quit too soon. Yeah.
And I think like comparison, and also we're just like in society, people just focus on the end result, like, oh, they're famous, or they're rich, or they made their $100,000 in, whatever months.
Yeah.
With influencers now, there's this big talk about money. It's like, well, no, money isn't the goal here.
Oh, I'm so with you. It's actually a pet peeve of mine at the moment. So people can only meet you so far as they've met themselves. And I find that there's been so much conditioning to be in the masculine that there is this mass viewing of the feminine as broken and something to be fixed. People see vulnerability. Oh, Elise, why are you being vulnerable? Stop doing that. People see me as being apologetic. Stop saying sorry. You're giving away your power. It's like, I'm not here for power. I'm here to connect. That's my feeling. My feeling is connection. And saying sorry to someone makes me feel like connected to them, right? But like, I don't have a problem. I'm having a good time. But they're like, if they can't see that I don't have a magnetic message and a niche and a this, and it does not make sense in their paradigm. I get so many business coaches pitching, hey, we will scale you, we will do this, we will do that. Like, I get people coming in the inbox, how much are you making per month? I said to someone, you know what? I feel like you're asking about my sex life when you ask that question. Like, that's an intimate, like, I don't know you. And I think because people are getting so conditioned and they're being brainwashed, oh, it's a money block. We should all talk about money. We should all talk about money. We should all, and it's like, that's your belief. Great. But you can't inject that value into everyone else. You need to actually meet people where they're at, and you need to get to know them a little before you ask them, hey, like, are you open to talking about money? Like, check in. It's not, and there's so much conversation is about what other people want out of it now. And there's been such a swing to be in your power that it's gone to like training. We've all got everything. And I think people are getting conditioned way too much to really amp up the narcissistic version of themselves. It's got to stay in balance. Step into your power, be empowered, awesome. Have some consideration for how you're landing with the other person. Check in. They've got different values. They also exist. Don't just tell them that they should care about money. Find out what they care about. And then, so I have this thing that people, their top value has become money. They've got rid of their money blocks, but really they just wired themselves to be quite addicted to and obsessed with money.
Mm.
And then they've called that mindset work. Like, was that really an answer from within you? Was that really from within you? Or did you just get conditioned into believing that you needed to have a money goal because everyone told you were broken because you didn't have a money goal? Was that really a spontaneous, thing that came out of you? Just always be in your truth. And I think my ultimate prize is living my truth. And I think there is a little bit of people projecting that everyone else needs to care about money. And if they don't, they're broken, they've got money blocks. No, they're living their truth. They have not had the inner inspiration yet that they need to monetize. That's not, and that doesn't mean they're broken. That means they're on a different path. All right.
Mm.
And be a magnet, talk about what you love, and let the people that want that from you come to you. Right. But yeah, it's something that bothers me is the outreach. It's the going and projecting on finding other people and then DMing them as though you've identified a problem with them. It's like
Oh,
the
okay.
only person that knows if there's a problem is that person. Is that person's outside expression a mirror of what they really believe inside? That's how they know they're successful. You're not going to be able to see that by looking at their Instagram feed and DMing them and telling them, that they're broken. Like I had someone, I'm pretty certain, she was trying to pitch to me. She's like, do you have the house and the dog and the husband and the children, but
Oh my God.
inside you feel broken? I'm like, where has she got the idea? How could you decide that maybe someone is in that reality feeling broken? Like, is it because I'm vulnerable or I show my emotions or I embody my anxiety because I accept all of myself and I put that out there that it looks like it's something to be fixed when actually it's a version of me embracing myself? I'm not trying to fix that. I like that part of myself. Stop trying to get rid of it. So yeah, totally on the same page. Like live and let live. Go
Yeah.
find your other people that want to obsess about money. And if I'm not obsessing about it, it's not a money block.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
in all my work in animal communication, because I do soul level, so we get deep about the purpose of your animal in your life, I've come to learn that people, because your animals do this, but then we do it with other humans as well, is they're reflecting and like literally mirroring how they feel about themselves onto others.
Mm,
So
mm,
their insecurities are literally being projected. So does this person have the house and the husband and the dogs and the girls and the mansion by the beach?
mm.
Or is she really reflecting, well, I don't have that, so I want to
Yeah,
find
she
someone who
she doesn't
does.
have that. She
They
doesn't have.
like can be inspired by them. But
Yeah.
they see it as inspiration. They see it as a threat.
And this is another success principle that everything is always working out for you. I thought my part of my childhood was dimming my light and teaching me to always come second. I was like the biggest fangirl for one of my siblings. I was like the biggest cheerleader, like, woo, like ultimate fangirl. And I was like, was that teaching me to be codependent? Was that making me a match for narcissist codependent? Like, I'm always happy to be the supporter. But no, the gift and that the most beautiful thing is it's given me the most amazing abundance mindset of the absolute ability to cheer for someone else and be happy for someone else's success. And I haven't had to wire that in. My childhood wired that in. But if you don't have that, and it's such a juicy one to wire in. Abraham Hicks talks about this. It talks about how when the success of another makes your heart soar, you know what true abundance really is. Because that is an absolute trust. There is enough for everyone. They're evidence of what is possible. They're on their path of alignment. They are just showing me what that leads to. And I wouldn't get it down their path anyway. My path has a totally different thing. It's got a totally different like you just need to take your journey will unfold. And if you see someone further down their path, just be excited. That's what's possible further down your path.
Mm.
And I think abundance mindset is such a juicy feeling. Like I get excited with other people because I'm like, yeah, it's showing that we are in an energetic world and they have elevated to that level. And that means that I can find that version of that within me. It's possible. And I think in terms of that, and a framework that I have that I think not everyone, I think maybe it would be beneficial to hear this framework, is to have the belief that almost all your clients or everyone that comes into your life is some sort of soul contract, that they will appear when you get to a certain level of your own evolution. And you can't lose that. Like you can't lose that too. You know what I'm saying? Like my clients will find me when I step into the resonance that they need at that time. If another client, if someone was to listen to me and want to work with someone else, like that was never my soul contract. That was never my client. That was never meant for me. It's like an absolute trust in I can create and manifest and come into alignment with whatever is for me, and whatever has gone to someone else was their creation, and nothing. It's just showing me that I can create that too. Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's enough for everyone's absolute abundance.
of course.
Like the limitation is your own willingness to grow, really.
Mm.
But yeah, I totally love the energy. It makes me happy that I feel happy cheering for others.
Of course,
I'm
absolutely.
grateful for that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, with now like this amazing book making an international, becoming an international bestseller, have you noticed that it triggers other people in your circle?
Such a good question. Um, yeah. So when it there's a I'm not going to name names, but there's been a key person in my life that who I am as a person. This is what I will say. My biggest, I love cheering for others, but we all have areas of growth. And I will say, anyone that is like the flip, the opposite archetype of me, that embodies everything that is, I will have a hard time cheering because I don't want the evidence of that is, because I don't want to become that. I'm like, I don't want to have to become that to be successful. So I don't want to believe that. So I do have some resistance. It's not a blanket. It's not a blanket. I'm like a human. I've got areas for growth. And there are some times where, for example, if I see a feminine and I see them focusing on money and being super masculine, not moving from creativity, and then I see it working out for them, I'm like, I don't want to believe that, like, because I don't want to awaken that. I don't want to have to become that. So I will probably cheer for more things that live into my values. If I'm really honest and authentic, I would say if I see someone I feel like they've done it the feminine way and in a way I would want to do it, and therefore they've got the result that I'm happy to cheer. If I see the other way, if I see someone doing the old version of me, hard work, grunt, effort, dimming their inner light, but yeah, making money, like as a lawyer, right? But just, yeah, I was making money. Money is really attracted to consistency. But if I believe, no, but I don't want to go down that path because I know it cuts off my creativity, and I know I actually feel so much juicier over here on the feminine side.
Mm.
I don't actually like cheering. So I don't like cheering for a method that I wouldn't want to go for myself. I'll just, full disclosure. And so I bring that up because I would say I am that to this other person. I embody everything that maybe they wouldn't want to become. I'm vulnerable. I share my emotions. I'll literally be able to say, well, I don't like, I'm very direct. I'm transparent. And they are very indirect. They're very outward blaming, very, we're like inverts of each other. And so for them, even though they're kind of positioned in my life in a way that should be like one of my greatest supporters, like you should be excited that this kid is doing well. It's more of a I honestly feel a desire to not see me succeed so that they can feel like, because I also am a hard worker, but I don't see it as hard work because it's fun for me. But I am like, I've done this podcast, I've done like 44 episodes in 5 weeks. That
Amazing.
looks like hard work. I have the appearance of hard work, and maybe it is. It doesn't feel hard. I'm having fun. But to them, they've always seen me dedicate myself, study, work, and they never did. And they told themselves, I was so smart, and if only I'd worked hard, blah, blah, blah. So for them, I think it's very painful to see, oh, at least, like, for example, they didn't think I would ever become anorexic because they wanted to become anorexic and they never could because they didn't have the willpower. And then I just executed, which is a really weird thing to say when I was 15. If I want to do something, I'm an executor.
Done.
For a lot of reasons, I'm a very confronting energy because I think I shine light on parts of themselves that they're not embodying. Anyway, so my book comes out, and yeah, it was very, very, very triggering for someone that you would expect to be like my greatest supporter.
Mm.
And so the book initially came out, and I came out online and shared about it. And I received a very difficult phone call where I just held space. I did what I've learned, imago dialogue, mirror, validate, empathize. But it was an absolute just smear campaign of just very indirectly letting me know everything that was wrong, perceived. It was a lot. And so I got this anchor of it was a re-anchoring of a cycle from childhood of when I succeed, I get in trouble.
Mm.
I'm not the one that's supposed to succeed. My sibling is supposed to be the winner. I'm supposed to be the cheerleader. When I succeed, I get in trouble. When I succeed, I don't get love. So it was a re-injuring of when I succeed, I don't get love. Um, and so that happened, when was that? The end of 2021. So the book had just kind of been announced and it wasn't out yet, but I received that and straight away, and that got me. And I kind of went offline for a bit there. It really got me. It really got me in a place where it felt it is not safe to be seen. It's not safe to be successful. And I recoiled a bit. And I went to work with my tools, of course. Like this is this is the start of my next level. This is the start of my next level. And I had to do a lot of work to get through that. It was a real historical I guess I was ready. I was ready to deal with that. Um, and now I'm just strategic about who I will directly share my good news with. And I have invited a lot more of that energy into my life. So I am flooding my life with a lot more supportive energy and people on the same page, even through the podcast, just having conversations in my world with people that do, like this person doesn't believe in self-growth. They don't believe in psychology. They don't believe in working on yourself. They don't believe, they're like, well, this is who I am. Like, it is what it is. I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to learn interpersonal skills. I'm not going to learn how to understand you. Zero willingness. And I think I've instead flooded people on the same page as me. And I feel such a deep sense of connection through connecting like conversations like today with people that I say something and then you say back, I think it's a long game. I'm like, oh, my people. Do you know what I mean? Like I've gone out and created more of what I do need. And so the more I flood my life with what I do need, the feelings I do need, this feeling of connection, of being around like-minded people, the less those voices matter.
Yeah.
And the more I can see them, the more data points I get that not everyone is thinking that way, that not everyone, the less, I think if you get more data points, the less one voice matters so much. So I've gone out and I've done a lot of inner work to get there. You can't just attract in the supportive community if your inside is still reflecting, I'm not enough, I'm not this, I'm broken, I'm bad. So it starts with the inner work, and then from there you start taking new actions and putting yourself out there because you do believe. So yeah, that was really hard. And so I shared a post the other day about crabs in a bucket. So my first life coach slash health coach, I really call him a life coach because he's a health coach, but he does Mindset Mondays on his podcast, and his favorite content of mine was always the mindset stuff. So he was my health coach, but I made him my life coach because I just focused mainly on his lessons.
Yeah.
And he would say stuff to me, and it was just like this one sentence, and I would like he introduced me to the Tao Te Ching, introduced me and gave me the concept of don't be a wrecking ball, Elise. Like don't bang up against, flow like water. And flow like water is one of my so for me, the biggest, even though he was there working on my health, his biggest impact for me was honestly on my mindset. So I really call him, and he was originally a life coach. He was like a nutrition, he was everything.
Is this
So,
Dr. Cabral?
pardon?
Dr. Cabral?
Dr. Stephen Cabral, yeah, but he doesn't do one-on-one anymore now. He trains people how to do what he does. So I've done his training. So now you can do the integrative health practitioner certification through him. So I've done that. And he's also created his own line of supplements and things like that. So I recommend those. If you want to learn more about that journey, I've got an episode called Physical Attraction. Forgotten the number, on my podcast where I talk about my actual health journey with him in a bit more detail. But yeah, Dr. Stephen Cabral, Equilife is his. Do you know him?
I do.
Yeah. Oh, look at
Very
us.
fond.
Oh, do you?
When I taught at homeschool last year, I integrated some of his podcasts into the lessons.
Did you? The mindset stuff or the health?
The mindset.
Us. We're so sick. Oh my gosh, so you've done doTERRA and you really, how good's his mindset stuff?
Yeah, big time. I agree. Yeah, very
and with
powerful.
beautiful energy as well.
Yeah.
You really feel it's coming from his soul, and you really feel the pure intention.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Absolute service.
That's what I feel with you. Like I'm honestly so inspired by your energy and your story and your ability to just get your message out there. You're not going to stop. Until I hear you're not a wrecking ball, but you are here to touch as many people as you can.
Yeah.
Like water, you'll flow. Some will get a sprinkle. and some will get a shower.
I was going to get the fire hose.
So where can people find you? Tell me.
My website, elisepeck.com, but also my podcast. I'm really into my podcast at the moment. It's called Love with Elise Peck. Love, comma, with Elise Peck. But yeah, really, my website, elisepeck.com.
Yeah.
Is that's kind of the home of everything, because if you go down the bottom, you can click on the Spotify link, it'll open up the podcast. If you go down the bottom, you click on the Instagram link, that'll click onto my Instagram.
Great.
My LinkedIn, like everything's down there, down in the footer. And there's a blog on my website, so I do a lot of blogs. I give a lot of insights there. My Instagram is very alive with content and blogs in the captions, essentially. And also I do offer free strategy call on the homepage of my website. Yeah, and also people can book in to come on my podcast on the website as well. So it's all, my website's my little home.
Yeah, so good. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I honestly had so much fun. I learnt so much from you, and I know you've given a lot of value to my listeners. And I'm just so grateful.
Oh my gosh, I've had the best time. I'm glad that you've had a good time too, because it's been really a lot of fun for me. Just happy to be here. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Elise.
Thanks, Tash.